Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go! What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble. I have honestly wanted to have an excuse to do that for the longest time. I've been told I can do the crazy taxi guy pretty well, so there you go. So, yes, welcome to another episode, and indeed, I did the crazy taxi guy for a very particular reason, because we're checking out something very much like that today. So, this is MiLE Taxi, and well, it's basically what happens if you take the mechanics of Crazy Taxi, the very well-known arcade and Dreamcast game, and put it in a weird, like, Fifth Element version of futuristic dystopian Toronto. Yeah, this is made by a fellow Canadian indie developer, and, well, SEGA ain't giving us a new Crazy Taxi. So when I heard that this was a thing, I was like, yo, I want to check that out. And I'm going to tell you, it's got a really good core to it, but it's got some weird technical hang-ups and a couple of bugs and stuff that can detract from it a little bit. But the core of this really is cool and really is fun. So, I mean, you're seeing what this game is about. If you know Crazy Taxi at all, this is tingling something in your brain, no doubt. So when you start the game off, you can choose between 3 different drivers, and the drivers are all more or less the same. They have a few little control and camera differences to them, but nothing too significant. And there's a couple of different modes in this. This is the main mode, which plays like Crazy Taxi, the arcade game, which I will explain in a bit. There's also a free roam mode to just get used to the map and sort of learn where things are at. And then there is also what's called the sequential mode. And in this core mode here, which is really what I think you'll spend most of your time with, your aim is to pick up fares, drive them to where they want to go as quickly as possible, and by doing so, you earn money, and the more money you earn, the better. That's pretty much the bulk of it. You can also earn extra money by destroying things creatively on your way to dropping the customers off, because basically they get a thrill out of destructing things, and that's kind of how that works. There's also these little coins around the map that if you pick up will give you time extensions as well, and you just keep going until you're out of time. That's pretty much it. It's really simple, but it's really addictive and really fun, and it's one of those things you'll want to just keep playing over and over again. And it nails that core loop exceptionally well. You know, the developer of this game clearly understands what Crazy Taxi is clearly a fan of it, clearly understands what makes this game appealing and why people love it, and again went, hey, Sega's not making one, so I guess I gotta. And I applaud that, absolutely. So, and this is really the crux of it. Now, there is, you saw me pick up sort of a hyper boost thing there, and yeah, what that is periodically throughout your run, your taxi company that you work for will make a boost option available to you, and you pick that up by stopping at one of the various different taxi stations in the city, which will get lit up on your map as well, so that you can see that. And picking that up literally gives you a boost. It makes you go crazy fast, and you get up to 60 seconds out of each one, and that will sort of help you get to your destinations faster, which you will need to do later on, because unless you play the game very well, you're going to have a number of situations where basically, unless you play the game very well, you're always going to be running at a net deficit for time. You can minimize that deficit, but you're eventually going to run out of time. It's just inevitable. But the boost can help you somewhat recover some of that. So that's kind of a key thing with it as well. And yeah, you're going to just be doing this in an effort to best your score, which is, your score is basically the amount of money that you get from customers, which you can see up there. It says dollar career, so it's the amount of money that you bring in, and you see what the fare is. Now, when I pick up the different people, there's 3 different color spaces I can pick them up from. Green is the shortest but pays the least, blue is medium, and red is the longest, highest risk, but pays the best. So you want to balance those out to try to maximize how much money you can get, and, you know, also the amount of time it's going to take. You know, the red ones can be very good, but if you take too long and you miss your route, well, you're going to have problems with that. And as you do all this, you know, this doesn't have the offspring in it like Crazy Taxi did, but it's, you know, it's got some decent music to go with it. It's nothing incredible, and I do wish you could randomize the track list because it plays in order. And you can see it shows the title in the upper left there, and some of them are clearly just generic royalty-free tracks, but they're not bad. You know, they're high energy and they add to the atmosphere pretty well. I think they do a good job. And this is a single-person indie game. You know, it wasn't made with a AAA budget, so you know, there's some concessions like that that need to be made sometimes, and I get that. That's perfectly fine. And yeah, the game honestly, just from a core concept, it's a lot of fun. I have been enjoying it. It's very fast, you know, it has a great sense of speed. This city is goofy and colorful and weird, but we will talk about the art style in a little bit. And he understands what the developer, he understands Crazy Taxi. He really does. And I think that's great because you can buy Crazy Taxi on Steam if you want, like the old version of it in a basically an emulated form, and that's good and all, but dang it, we need a new one of these. It feels like this is something Sega could do for a reasonably small amount of money and make a downloadable game. I really don't know why they haven't, but yeah. But there isn't a lot more to explain about the game itself. I mean, that's what it is, you know, this is what it is. Now, there is a free roam mode, as I said, which has no passengers, but you can, it allows you to get to know the map, because the map is not randomly generated. The map is static. And there's also what's called sequential mode, and sequential mode is literally that. You play this, it's the same route every time, at least as far as I can tell, and you have to pick up and drop off passengers in a predetermined sequence, and the sequence gets harder and harder the longer you go. I've never finished it. I don't know how long it is, but it probably can get quite challenging. So it's more or less just a harder challenge mode is the idea, and that's sort of the core of it. Doesn't really need a lot more than that, honestly, to be a good Crazy Taxi game. You know, Crazy Taxi was a very simple concept, and, you know, this is trying to execute on that. However, there are some caveats with this game that we got to talk about here. So, the art style in this game is cool. It's trying to be, you know, Fifth Element-y, which is neat, but it's weird. It's very inconsistent. You know, you've got these building textures and the car texture, which is kind of a little bit blurry, and then you've got all of these billboards in the world which look much higher resolution, including ones that like are telling you to wish list the game you already bought. That's a little weird. It's designed to be this dystopia, right, where there's billboards everywhere and it's just horrible and all that other stuff, and I get that. But it feels like a clash to me. The relative low resolution of the actual 3D assets paired up with these very high resolution billboard photographs just looks a little strange. That may have been the intent. You know, the art style of this game is designed to be, you know, rather weird and abstract, I think. So that's okay. I can understand that, but it is a little strange. And you may have also noticed that things look really blurry and aliased. And, well, this game unfortunately has some, I can only call them bizarre technical shortcomings. And those are that, well, things look low res here, because even though I have a 1440p monitor, we're playing the game at 1080p. And according to the developer in his Steam forums, the reason the game doesn't support higher resolutions is because he doesn't have a higher resolution monitor, and thus he can't test it. I'm quite certain that of all the indie games that I cover on this channel, not every developer had a 4K monitor, but every indie game I cover, with the exception of a couple of very lightweight pixel games, allow you to choose whatever resolution you want. I don't think you necessarily have to have that monitor to be able to set it to that. I mean, this is a Unity game. Unity kind of handles that sort of thing for you, as I understand it. So, yeah, I mean, the game runs really well because it's locked at that lower resolution, obviously, because my 3080 is barely breaking a sweat right now. But, yeah, that's a weird reason to not have proper resolutions in it. They really need to fix that. In addition, this game does have motion blur. I hate motion blur, and you can't turn it off. There's an option in the menu, but when I press a button on it, nothing happens. So I don't know if it's actually not on and this is just part of how the game looks, or if it's stuck on. But I really don't like motion blur. I think it detracts from the visual aesthetics of a game, and some people get motion sick from it. So that's another thing that really should be fixed. This game actually launched in a much worse technical state. It actually didn't run very well at all when it came out, and it kind of got banged in reviews for it a little bit. I actually decided, the developer said he was working on it, so I decided to hold off covering this a little bit until he got a couple of patches out. And it has improved somewhat from those, which I will give credit for. And to his credit, he says he is still working on it, and I have no doubt of that. But I got to review the game in front of me. And while all the issues I'm mentioning here may get fixed, they have not been at time of recording. So that's something you guys need to know. In addition, there's a really weird thing here. So this game requires a controller, and I mean, I understand that. With a keyboard and mouse, this would be really hard to do, especially when you're trying to control it in 3 dimensions, as I am here, right? Well, this game doesn't show proper button mappings based on the controller that you're using. He refers to the face buttons as north, south, east, and west. And when you load into the world, the controller diagram it shows is of a PlayStation 3 controller. And I was like, no one's been using those to any significant degree in over 10 years. I'm like, yeah, so it doesn't map to the controller you're using, and the button mappings are not even mapped to a common controller like an Xbox controller. It's odd. This game is not hard to understand. The controls in this are not hard to understand. So again, it's not a deal breaker. It's just very strange. But that is something to keep in mind as well. In addition, this game does have a GPS system in the map that's supposed to help you indicate where you're supposed to go. It's not very reliable. Sometimes it works great. Other times it doesn't. Like here, see how the arrow in the top is telling me to go backwards to get to my fare? Well, the GPS is telling me to go here, but this is not where the fare is supposed to be dropped off. This doesn't happen all the time. It only happens sometimes, but it's very strange and can be really frustrating if you're trying to rely on that as opposed to the arrow. I can't explain that, but it's another weird thing that needs to get sorted out. In addition, I had a couple of problems where when I hit the restart button in the free roam mode, it wouldn't ever take me back to the main menu. There was actually no option, like you can see here in the pause menu, there's actually no option to go back to the main menu. You can only restart the mode you're in or quit the game entirely. In the free roam mode, a lot of the time if you said restart, it would start you in a mode where you had to pick up passengers, but there was no destinations to take them to, and it wasn't scoring you. It was like halfway between free roam and regular mode. Really strange. Probably would have been solved by a main menu option in the pause menu here, but that doesn't exist, so there, you know, that's a thing as well. Yeah, it's hitchy in spots and glitchy in spots as well. It's just it's an overall lack of polish, and you know, that's kind of unfortunate. You know, I don't like to crap on games, and you know, that's why I don't cover objectively bad games on this channel, and I don't like to crap on single-person devs, because I know making games is really hard, but there are and the thing is, the core gameplay of this has been nailed so well that I still enjoy playing this despite the shortcomings, and I think the dev should really be applauded for the level of care and attention to detail that he's put into making this a great Crazy Taxi game with his own flair and his own little changes that he made to how it plays. I think that's great. But those technical shortcomings can't be overlooked. I do hope he's able to put in the work to get the game, you know, where it needs to go. I mean, heck, if you need someone with a 1440p monitor to test a beta of this with 1440p support, dude, hit me up. I'll do it. I don't care. You know, it's easy. If it's just I install a beta branch of the game, I go to that resolution and I see if it looks right, hey, I'm down. So, you know, if that's the only thing stopping you, then that would be a good idea. And there's a couple of other things, you know, one thing that's a little immersion breaking, but also kind of not really, is, you know, this is a city full of hover cars, as you can see. There's collision on everything, and in fact, you know, it behooves you to run into things because that helps get you more points. Well, cars don't count. You can just run right through cars. I mean, I get it. I really do. If the cars had full collision on them, this game would be borderline unplayable, or he'd have to make the city feel a lot more lifeless because you'd be the only person on the street. So I understand that. It's just weird. It feels a little weird, but that's a conceit I understand. And in addition to that, there are no online leaderboards. I know I harp on that all the time, but I've seen smaller games by smaller devs that have them. This is a game that's begging for online leaderboards, you know, and having something like that around would be really nice. There is a, you know, it's one of those things that a game like this just needs, and it's something that I don't think is unfair to expect, especially when platforms like Steam do have integrated online leaderboard support. You know, there is a way to do it, to either integrate it directly into your game or to make it work through people's Steam community profiles. So that's a thing that I think should be here. But all of that said, and I know I spent a lot of time talking negatives there, but all of that said, this game is fun, man. It's really, really fun. And it can be played in short spurts, so it's something you can play casually on, you know, when you only have a few minutes or something like that. I'll say it again, this game would be great on a Switch, but I bet this game would also be great on a Steam Deck. I don't know how it runs on a Steam Deck, I don't have one, but I bet this game would be a great thing for that, for when you only got a few minutes, you want to do a run of this. It's perfect for that. You know, that's again what Crazy Taxi was good for. And that's really the key thing to take away from this video for me is, despite the technical shortcomings I mentioned, all of which are annoying only, but not deal breakers in terms of the game is not unplayable. The game works, it runs well. The core gameplay is there. These are all just, they're nice to have complaints that I'm making more than must have complaints. But the idea of a Crazy Taxi with 3 dimensions of travel is exactly what this nails so well. And if it couldn't nail that, it would be bad. It wouldn't matter how technically good it was. If it couldn't nail that core gameplay feeling, this would be DOA. But it doesn't. It nails that really, really well. It will take you a little bit to get used to how it controls because of the fact that you're flying in 3 dimensions. But I got used to it pretty quick. And yeah, it scratches that arcade style itch so well. And this is a game that not only was Sega not making, kind of no one was making for the longest time. People, you know, said they wanted this and no one was stepping up to do it, and this developer did. So I'm going to give all credit where it's due for that. You know, this map is pretty large. Despite the weird art style, it's a large map. There's a lot of places to go. There's a lot of things to see, you know, and for a solo dev, it's pretty darn impressive work. All of that is very much to its credit, and I think that I do enjoy this. I think this is cool. I just want to make sure that you guys know what you're getting into when you go into it so that you're not surprised. And as I said, this developer has said that he is continuing to work on the game. Everything I've ragged on in this video might very well be long gone whenever you're watching it. I hope so. I really do. I hope this does well. I hope this dev gets the chance to bring this to other platforms. I hope he can refine it and, you know, polish out those rough edges a little bit and turn this in from something that's cool but flawed into something that's truly awesome, because it is fun. There's no doubt about that. So yes, indeed, that is MiLE Taxi. It is out now. Yeah, know what the caveats are, but if you want a newer take on Crazy Taxi that nobody else has given us, you got this here. And if you're anything like me, I think you will be able to get over the technical hitches that it has and just enjoy the core gameplay of it for what it is. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. I do appreciate it. If you liked what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things. They do help the channel out an awful lot. Leave a comment down below. Tell me, you know, what do you think about this? Is this, you know, are any of those shortcomings deal breakers for you? Do you want to give this a try? You know, does the idea of a new Crazy Taxi interest you? Are there other Crazy Taxi-ish games that have come out since then that I maybe I missed? I'd be very curious to hear about that, because I love crazy vehicle games like this. So, and as always, you can follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction for multiple variety streams a week. I cover other indie games as well as retro stuff there, including a lot of games that are better suited to streaming than YouTube. We have a fantastic community there, and I would love to see you be a part of it. thanks again all, and I'll see you on the next Indie Ramble. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take her easy.